What kind of woman runs toward gunfire for a child she has never met? Nora Blake was just a waitress in a rain-soaked Atlantic City diner, counting tips, hiding overdue bills in her apron pocket, and trying to make it through one more shift unnoticed. Then the windows shattered. Men with guns stormed in, and a 6-year-old girl in a yellow dress stood frozen in the crossfire. Nora didn't know the child's name. She didn't know her father was Vincent Callahan, the most feared Mafia boss on the Jersey coast. She only knew that someone had to move. By the time the sirens came, blood was running down Nora's shoulder, the little girl was clinging to her, and one whispered word changed everything. Mom. Stay until the end, because this isn't just a Mafia romance. It's a story about the kind of love that chooses to stay. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. That single word had not come from nowhere. 18 minutes before, Nora Blake stood bleeding in the alley with a stranger's child wrapped around her neck. She was standing under the yellow lights of Ruby's Pier Diner, wiping maple syrup off table 7, and pretending she was not counting the hours until rent was due. Rain pressed against the front windows in silver sheets. Outside Atlantic City looked tired and electric at the same time, all wet pavement casino glow and taxi headlights sliding through puddles. The boardwalk was only 2 streets over, close enough that tourists sometimes wandered in with sand on their shoes and too much money in their wallets. But Ruby's was not the kind of place people came to be impressed. It was the kind of place they came because it was open, warm, cheap, and nobody asked too many questions. Nora liked that about it. She liked the coffee machine that hissed like an old cat. She liked the red vinyl booths with cracked corners. She liked the smell of fried onions, burnt toast, and lemon cleaner. She liked knowing where everything was. Sugar packets in the drawer beneath the register. Extra napkins beside the pie case. First aid kit behind the dish station, though the bandages inside were probably older than she was. Most of all, she liked that people looked through her. A waitress could hide in plain sight if she learned the rhythm. Smile at the right time. Refill coffee before being asked. Keep her voice light. Move fast. Never give anyone a reason to remember her name unless it was written on the check. Nora Blake had spent years becoming forgettable. It was safer that way. Her phone buzzed in the front pocket of her apron while she stacked plates near the pass window. She already knew what it was before she looked. The landlord had been sending messages all morning, each one more polite than the last, which somehow made them worse. Final reminder. Rent due Friday by 5. Nora stared at the screen until it dimmed. Friday. 3 days away. Her bank balance would have made a stronger woman laugh and a weaker one cry. Nora did neither. She slid the phone back into her pocket, picked up a fresh pot of coffee, and walked to booth 4. The man sitting there had been reading the same newspaper for 20 minutes. "Warm up?" Nora asked. He lifted his cup without looking at her. She poured. "Thanks, sweetheart." She hated when strangers called her sweetheart, but she smiled anyway. Any time. At the counter, 2 construction workers argued about a football game. Near the window, an older couple split a slice of cherry pie with the seriousness of people who had been married long enough to know exactly how much the other would eat. A teenager in a casino uniform sat alone, still wearing a name tag from the night shift, his head bowed over a plate of eggs he had barely touched. Ordinary lives, ordinary hunger. Ordinary exhaustion. That was what Nora loved and hated about Ruby's. Everybody came in carrying something. Nobody had to explain it. Behind the counter, Hank the cook slapped a bell with the flat of his palm. "Order up, Nora." She turned, table 12. "Unless the ghost in the ladies' room wants a cheeseburger." Nora grabbed the plate. "You keep flirting with her, Hank." One day she might answer. He snorted, but she saw the corner of his mouth twitch. Hank had worked at Ruby's for 19 years and claimed he had no heart left, which was something only men with soft hearts ever said. He smoked behind the dumpster, drank coffee black, and slipped Nora extra fries when her shift ran long. He had never asked why she sometimes looked at her phone like she was waiting for someone to remember her. That was another thing she liked about him. He noticed, but he did not pry. As Nora delivered the cheeseburger, the bell over the front door jingled. A gust of wet wind pushed into the diner, carrying the smell of rain and gasoline. She looked up. 2 men in dark suits stepped inside. Not tourists, not locals grabbing lunch. Their coats were too expensive, their shoes too polished for the weather, their faces too still. One scanned the room from left to right. The other kept his hand near the inside of his jacket. Nora lowered the plate in front of table 12. Anything else, the customer did not answer. His eyes had gone to the men at the door. Everyone noticed them. Everyone pretended not to. The taller man approached the counter, his gaze settling on Darlene, the day manager who had been pretending to count receipts. "Private room," he said. Darlene's smile turned bright and nervous. "Of course. Mr. Callahan's already expected." The name moved through the diner without anyone saying it again. Callahan. Nora felt it land in the room like a hand pressing down on the back of her neck. She had heard the name before. Everybody in Atlantic City had. Some people spoke it like a warning. Some like a prayer. Some like they were afraid even the walls might be listening. Vincent Callahan owned restaurants, shipping companies, 6 construction contracts, and pieces of casinos that did not appear on official paperwork. At least that was what people said. Nora did not know what was true. She only knew men lowered their voices around that name, and cops walked slower when his cars passed. Darlene leaned close as Nora returned to the counter. "Private room needs water, black coffee, and no interruptions." Nora wiped her hands on her apron. "Why are you looking at me because Miguel called out, and I'm not walking back there?" "Darlene, just drop the tray and leave. Don't stare, don't listen. Don't do that thing where your face says what your mouth is smart enough not to." Nora gave her a flat look. "My face is innocent. Your face has opinions." Before Nora could answer, the front door opened again. This time, the whole diner seemed to hold its breath. Vincent Callahan entered without hurry. He was not the largest man in the room, but the space bent around him anyway. He wore a black overcoat, damp at the shoulders. Dark hair brushed back, a white shirt open at the throat beneath a charcoal suit. There was gray at his temples, not enough to soften him, only enough to make him look like time had tried and failed to wear him down. His eyes moved once across the diner. Nora had the unsettling feeling that he saw every exit, every hand, every shadow. Then his gaze passed over her and kept going. Good, she thought. Invisible. One of the suited men opened the door to the private hallway and Vincent disappeared through it. The diner breathed again. Darlene pushed a tray toward Nora. "Go." Nora carried the coffee and water down the short hallway toward the private room. The carpet back there was newer than the rest of the diner, paid for by men who did not like their shoes touching sticky tile. The walls were lined with framed photographs of Atlantic City from better decades, neon signs, beauty queens, crowds in summer clothes walking beneath old marquees. At the end of the hall, the private room door stood half open. Nora knocked lightly with her knuckle. A voice inside said, "Come in." She stepped through. 4 men sat around the table. Vincent Callahan was at the far end, back to the wall, facing the door. Of course he was. One of the suited men stood behind him. Another sat near the window watching the street through a gap in the blinds. Across from Vincent were 2 men Nora recognized from local news photographs. Casino union men. Expensive watches. Tired faces. False confidence. Nora placed the water down first. No one spoke to her. She liked that. As she poured coffee, one of the union men said, "The marina has been disputed for years. Coyle believes there should be a conversation. Vincent did not touch his cup. Raymond Coyle believes many things. Most of them end badly for the people who repeat them. The room chilled. Nora kept her eyes on the coffee. The union man cleared his throat. He says expansion is natural. Vincent's voice stayed calm. So is drowning. Men still avoid deep water when they are wise. Nora set the pot down a little too hard. Vincent looked at her. Only for a second. It was not the kind of look men usually gave waitresses. Not hungry, not dismissive, not rude. It was precise, like he was placing her in his mind and deciding whether she mattered. She lowered her eyes. Anything else, no, Vincent said. His voice was quieter than she expected. She left before her curiosity got her killed. Back in the main diner, she exhaled only when the kitchen doors swung shut behind her. Hank looked up from the grill. "You meet the devil." Nora grabbed a towel. "He drinks black coffee." "Figures." She smiled despite herself and went back to table 7 where syrup had somehow multiplied in her absence. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was not the landlord. It was her brother. Ben. Nora's hand tightened around the phone. She had called him 6 times in 2 weeks, sent messages, left voicemails. Nothing. Now his name sat glowing on the screen like a match in a dark room. She answered too fast. Ben's static crackled. Then his voice came through low and rough. "Nor." She turned away from the dining room. "Where have you been? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. You don't sound fine." I said, "I'm fine." Nora closed her eyes. That was Ben. Always bleeding somewhere and calling it weather. "Do you need money?" A pause. That meant yes. "Nora, I just need a couple days, for what I got behind." "With who?" He did not answer. Her stomach sank. "Ben, I'll handle it." "You always say that right before I have to come handle it." A customer waved from booth 6. Nora lifted one finger, asking for a second. Ben's voice softened. "I know you're tired of saving me." She looked toward the rain-streaked window. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to say she was tired all the way down to the bone. Tired of rent notices, tired of missed calls. Tired of loving people who made absence feel like a habit. Instead, she said, "I'm not tired of you." Silence. Then Ben whispered, "I'll call you later." The line went dead. Nora stood there a moment holding the phone to her ear after there was nothing left to hear. Darlene called from the register. "Nora." Table 6 is about to start eating the menu. Nora slid the phone away. On it. She moved because moving was easier than thinking. 10 minutes passed in fragments. Coffee poured. Plates delivered. Someone asked for extra ranch. Someone complained the bacon was too crisp. Rain kept tapping the glass. The private room stayed closed. Then the side door near the back hallway opened. A woman in a navy coat stepped in first, shaking rain from an umbrella. Behind her came a little girl in a yellow dress. Her dark hair tied back with a white ribbon, a stuffed rabbit tucked under one arm. Nora noticed her immediately. Not because the child was loud, because she was not. Children usually entered diners like weather. Hungry, curious, restless, sticky-fingered, full of questions. This little girl came in like someone had taught her that taking up space was dangerous. She stayed close to the woman, eyes, lowered shoulders, slightly tucked in. The woman spoke quietly to one of Vincent's men by the hallway. He bent, listened, then nodded toward the front booths. The child looked past him toward the closed private room door. "Is Daddy busy?" she asked. Her voice was small, but Nora heard it. The woman touched her shoulder. "Just for a few minutes, Lily." Lily. Nora repeated the name silently without meaning to. Lily looked around the diner and caught Nora staring. Nora smiled. The girl did not smile back at first. She studied Nora with solemn eyes, as if smiles were contracts she needed to read carefully before signing. Then Nora lifted 2 fingers in a tiny wave. Lily gave the smallest wave in return. Something in Nora's chest tightened. She did not know why. Maybe it was the dress, yellow like a patch of sunlight trapped in a storm. Maybe it was the stuffed rabbit worn at one ear. Maybe it was the way Lily kept glancing toward the private room, hoping for a door to open. Nora knew that look. She had worn it as a child, waiting for her mother to come out of hospital rooms, waiting for her father to come home from jobs that got shorter and drinking that got longer, waiting for Ben to grow out of trouble before trouble grew teeth. Waiting could make a child old. Nora walked to the counter, poured hot chocolate into a small mug, added whipped cream, then hesitated. She placed 2 chocolate chips on top like eyes and a curved line of caramel for a smile. Hank leaned over. "You got time for art now, shut up. Beautiful. Looks haunted. It's a bear. That bear has seen war." Nora rolled her eyes and carried the mug to the booth where Lily and the woman sat. "Special delivery." The woman looked up sharply. "We did not order that." "I know." Nora set it down gently in front of Lily. "It is on the house." Lily stared at the mug. The whipped cream had already started melting. Nora leaned in slightly. "His name is Mr. Marshmallow. He has terrible manners, so you should probably drink him before he says something rude." For half a second, nothing happened. Then Lily smiled. It was quick and small, but it changed her whole face. "Thank you," she whispered. "You are welcome, sunshine." The word slipped out before Nora could stop it. Sunshine. She had not called anyone that in years. The woman's expression softened, but only a little. That was kind. Nora shrugged. "Diner policy. All sad-looking stuffed rabbits require hot chocolate." Lily looked down at her rabbit. "His name is Oliver." Nora nodded with great seriousness. "My apologies to Oliver." This time, Lily's smile lasted longer. From the private hallway, a door opened. Vincent appeared. Lily turned so fast her ribbon shifted. "Daddy!" The change in Vincent was almost invisible, which somehow made it more powerful. His shoulders lowered by a fraction. His eyes warmed, though the rest of his face remained guarded. He crossed the diner in 3 long strides. Lily slid out of the booth and ran to him. He crouched before she reached him, catching her with one arm as if the movement were practice necessary and painful all at once. "Piccola," he murmured. The word sounded strange and tender in his mouth. Lily pressed her face into his coat. "You said 5 minutes, I know." It was more. His hand moved over the back of her head. "You are right, no excuses. No impatience. Just the truth." Nora looked away, embarrassed by the intimacy of it. The woman stood. "She wanted to see you before we went home." Vincent nodded but kept his gaze on Lily. "Did you have class?" Lily nodded. "Miss Anna said my turns were better." "Of course they were. You did not see." A shadow passed across Vincent's face. "No," he said softly. "I did not." Lily held the stuffed rabbit tighter. Nora tried to make herself busy at the next table, but the moment pulled at her. Vincent touched Lily's cheek with the back of his fingers. "I have one more thing to finish. Then we go home together." Lily looked toward the private hallway. "Can I wait here?" Vincent's eyes moved to the front windows, the street, the booths, the door. Calculating. Always calculating. His security man stepped closer. "Boss better if she waits in the car." Lily's face fell. Nora saw it before anyone else did. Vincent saw it too. He looked at the woman in the navy coat. 10 minutes. Keep her away from the hallway." Then he looked at Nora. Not past her this time. At her. "Miss?" Nora straightened. "Yes. My daughter may need another hot chocolate." Nora held his gaze. Something about him made every sensible part of her want to step back. but Lily was looking at her like the hot chocolate mattered more than global politics. Nora said, "Then I guess Mr. Marshmallow has a cousin." Vincent blinked once. Lily giggled. The sound was so unexpected that even Vincent seemed startled by it. For one brief moment, Ruby's Pier Diner felt warm. Then Vincent's phone rang. He looked at the screen. Whatever he saw erased the softness from his face. He handed Lily back to the woman. "Stay here." His voice had changed. Lily noticed. "What is wrong?" "Nothing for you to worry about." Children always knew when adults lied gently. Lily's fingers tightened around Oliver. Vincent turned toward the private hallway, already answering the call. Nora carried dishes to the bus tub, but her eyes went to the front windows. Outside, traffic crawled through rain. A taxi passed, then a delivery truck. Then a black SUV turned the corner too fast. Nora noticed because the tires hit a puddle hard enough to send water over the curb. The SUV did not slow. It came straight towards the diner. At first, her mind refused to understand what her body already knew. Her hands went cold. The vehicle jumped the curb and stopped crooked in front of Ruby, so close its headlights flooded the dining room white. The old couple by the window looked up from their pie. The teenager in the casino uniform lifted his head. Hank shouted from the kitchen, "What the hell?" The SUV doors opened. 3 men stepped out into the rain. Dark clothes, covered faces, weapons low against their sides. Nora's tray slipped in her hand. Across the diner, Lily stood from the booth. The woman in the navy coat reached for her. From the private hallway, Vincent's security man shouted a single word. "Down." The first bullet struck the front window before anyone had time to pray. The sound tore the diner in half. Glass burst inward like 1,000 silver teeth. The old couple by the window disappeared beneath their table. The teenager in the casino uniform dropped so fast his chair flipped backward. Someone screamed. Someone else kept screaming after the first voice ran out of air. Nora did not move at first. Her body froze with the tray still in her hands, coffee cups rattling against cheap white saucers. Her mind tried to make sense of the impossible shape of the moment. Rain on the windows, men in masks. Guns pointed into a room full of people who had only come for lunch. Then she saw Lily. The little girl was standing beside the booth, no longer holding the woman's hand. The woman had fallen hard against the edge of the table, one hand pressed to her temple. Lily's yellow dress flashed under the diner lights as she turned toward the private hallway. "Daddy." Her voice was swallowed by another shot. Nora saw the gunman near the door swing his weapon toward the back of the diner, toward the hallway, toward the small bright target of a child who did not understand that grown men could hate her father enough to aim at her. Nora's tray hit the floor. She ran, not gracefully, not bravely, in the way stories made bravery look clean. She ran with terror, clawing up her throat with coffee, splashing over her shoes with her heart beating so hard it seemed to shake the world around her. A bullet punched into the wall behind Lily. The little girl flinched but did not move. Nora reached her in 4 steps. She grabbed Lily around the waist, lifted her off the ground, and turned her own body between the child and the front windows. Pain flashed white through her shoulder. It was hot first, then cold, then so sharp it stole the breath from her lungs. Lily screamed against her neck. Nora stumbled into the side of a booth, caught herself, and pulled the girl down with her. "Look at me," Nora said, though her voice sounded far away. "Lily, look at me." The girl's eyes were enormous, wet, lost. Nora pressed a shaking hand to the back of Lily's head. "Do not look over there. Look at me." Another burst of gunfire ripped through the diner. The private room door slammed open. Vincent Callahan appeared with a gun in his hand and murder in his eyes. For 1 second, his gaze found Lily. Then it found Nora wrapped around her. That 1 second carried more fear than Nora had ever seen on a man's face. Cole Mercer grabbed Vincent by the arm and pulled him back as bullets chewed into the doorframe. Boss move. Vincent did not move. Lily. Nora did not wait for him. She knew the diner. She knew there was a back way through the kitchen, past the freezer, through the exit that stuck unless you hit it at the right angle. She pulled Lily against her chest. Hold on to my apron. Lily's fingers locked into the fabric. Nora crawled first, dragging them behind the counter as plates exploded above them. A sugar jar shattered. Coffee streamed over the edge of the counter and fell in hot drops beside Nora's hand. Hank was on the floor near the grill, his face pale beneath his beard. Nora. Back door, she gasped. He nodded and reached up, yanking a heavy pan from the stove. When one of the masked men shoved through the swinging kitchen doors, Hank hurled it with both hands. It caught the man in the face with a sickening crack. Go, Hank shouted. Nora went. The kitchen was chaos. Steam hissed from an open dishwasher. The fryer popped angrily. Someone was crying beneath the prep table. Nora moved through it on instinct, one arm around Lily, the other hanging strangely at her side. Her shoulder was bleeding badly now. She felt it soaking her sleeve, felt each pulse of pain with every step. Lily looked up at her. You're hurt. Nora forced air into her lungs. Still moving, aren't I? The girl let out a broken sob. Nora softened her voice. Almost there, sunshine. The word steadied both of them. The back exit came into view. Nora hit the emergency bar with her hip. For one horrible second, the door did not open. No, she whispered. She hit it again. Harder. The door flew outward, and rain rushed over them. The alley behind Ruby's smelled like wet brick garbage and ocean wind. Nora dragged Lily outside, then turned and slammed the door shut behind them. Her fingers slipped on the lock. Blood made everything slick. Click. The lock caught. Nora pressed her forehead against the cold metal. Only then did her knees give out. She sank to the ground, pulling Lily into her lap before the child could fall with her. The rain soaked them both. Lily curled against Nora like she could crawl under her skin and hide there. Inside the diner, the gunfire changed. Farther away. Faster. Then came shouting tires, shrieking engines, roaring. The attack ended the way it began, with violence moving too quickly for the heart to understand. Nora wrapped her good arm tighter around Lily. You're okay, she whispered. You're okay. Lily was shaking so hard her teeth clicked. No, no, no. Yes, Nora said, though she did not know if it was true. I've got you. The first police car screamed into the alley with blue lights spinning across the wet brick walls. Then another, then an ambulance. Men and women in uniforms rushed toward them, voices overlapping. Ma'am, are you hit? Can you tell me your name? Is the child injured? Nora tried to answer, but the words tangled. Lily began crying louder when a paramedic reached for her. No, no, don't take me. Nora tightened her hold. She's scared, she said. Give her a second. Ma'am, you are bleeding. I know. We need to look at your shoulder. I said, give her a second. The paramedic paused, surprised by the steel in her voice. Then the alley shifted. It was not quiet. Sirens still wailed. Police still shouted. Rain still hammered the pavement. But something moved through the crowd and everyone made room for it. Vincent Callahan came out of the diner. His white shirt was stained near the collar. Blood, but not his. His gun was gone, though Nora had no doubt it was close. Cole followed beside him with a hard look and a weapon low at his side. Vincent's eyes searched once. Then he saw Lily. The man changed so completely it frightened Nora more than the gunfire had. All the cold power drained from his face, leaving only a father. He crossed the alley and dropped to one knee in the rain. Lily. The girl lifted her head. Daddy! His hands reached for her, then stopped hovering as if touching her too quickly might break whatever piece of her was still holding together. Are you hurt? Lily shook her head, but she did not let go of Nora. Vincent looked at Nora then. Really looked. His gaze moved from her wet hair to her torn uniform to the blood running from her shoulder to the way her body still curved around his daughter like a shield. A paramedic spoke beside him. She took the hit. Looks like a graze, but she needs treatment. Vincent's jaw tightened. You took a bullet for my daughter. Nora swallowed against the nausea rising in her throat. I pulled her out of the way. That is not the same thing. It was at the time. Lily's fingers climbed from Nora's apron to the collar of her shirt. Her face was streaked with rain and tears. She looked at Nora with a terrible shining trust. The word entered the alley and stopped everything inside Nora. Vincent went still. The paramedic's hands froze over the bandage he had just opened. Nora's throat closed. Lily pressed closer, her voice cracking. Mom, don't leave me. Nora stared at the child, then at Vincent. She expected him to correct her, to take over, to say something gentle and fatherly and firm. But Vincent looked as if someone had reached into his chest and touched an old wound with bare fingers. Nora forced herself to breathe. Sweetheart, I'm not your mom. Lily shook her head so violently her wet ribbon came loose. You saved me. Nora brushed rain from the girl's cheek. That does not make me your mom. Lily's lower lip trembled. Moms save. No one spoke. Behind Vincent, a woman in a dark coat pushed through the officers. She was in her 40s with sharp eyes and dark hair pulled into a low bun. She stopped when she saw Lily in Nora's arms. Oh, baby, she whispered. Lily looked at her. Aunt Maggie. Maggie Callahan moved closer but did not reach for her. That restraint told Nora everything. This family had learned not to grab at broken things. Maggie looked at Vincent. She is in shock. Vincent's voice was rough. I know. A police officer approached, but Cole stepped between him and the family with quiet menace. We need statements, the officer said. Cole did not blink. You will get them. Vincent never looked away from Lily. The paramedic tried again to reach Nora's shoulder. Lily panicked at once, clutching her tighter. No. Nora winced as Lily's hand pressed near the wound. It's okay, Nora whispered. They are helping. Lily shook her head. They'll take you. I am right here. You'll leave. The fear in her voice was not about the alley. It was older than the gunfire. Nora looked at Vincent. He understood. She saw that he did, and hated that he did. Maggie knelt beside Lily. Darling Nora needs a doctor. Lily buried her face against Nora. Then she comes with us. Nora felt every adult in the alley turn toward her. She almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the world had become so strange that laughter seemed as reasonable as anything else. I have a shift, she said weakly. Maggie looked toward the ruined diner. I think your shift is over. Vincent's eyes stayed on Nora. I have doctors at my home. Security, privacy. You will be treated there and then taken wherever you wish to go. Nora stiffened. I do not get into cars with men like you. For the first time, something like respect moved through his expression. Good. The answer startled her. Vincent leaned closer, keeping his voice low enough that only she could hear. Listen to me, Miss Blake. The men who attacked today work for a man who will know by nightfall that you saved my daughter. He will know Lily clung to you. He will know your name. If you go home alone, you will not be safe. Cold slid beneath Nora's skin. How do you know my name? Vincent glanced at her name tag. Nora looked down. Nora. Bright red letters on cheap plastic. She suddenly hated that little badge. Lily whispered, please. That was the word that undid her, not Vincent's warning. Not the blood, not the rain, not the fear of faceless men finding her apartment with the broken lock. Please. Nora looked at the child in her lap and saw someone who had already lost too much. Just until she calms down, Nora said. Vincent nodded once. Just until then. Maggie's mouth tightened like she recognized the lie and chose kindness over truth. The paramedics bandaged Nora quickly in the alley, wrapping her shoulder while Lily kept one hand twisted in her apron. Nora's vision blurred once. Vincent noticed and reached out as if to steady her, then stopped before touching her. That restraint again. Nora hated that she noticed it. The ride to the Callahan house happened through tinted windows and rain. Lily sat pressed against Nora's side in the back of a black SUV, her small hand tucked inside Nora's good one. Vincent sat across from them. Silent, one elbow resting on his knee, his eyes never leaving his daughter for long. Nora watched Atlantic City slide past in smears of neon and water. Casinos, pawn shops, boarded windows, luxury towers, the strange American kingdom of luck and loss. Her shoulder throbbed in time with her heartbeat. At one point, Lily's head drooped against her arm. Nora whispered, "She's asleep." Vincent's expression softened. She has not slept easily in 2 years. Nora looked at him. Since her mother? A muscle jumped in his jaw. Yes. Nora wanted to ask more. She did not. The SUV turned away from the brighter streets and followed the coast north. Houses grew larger, farther apart, hidden behind iron gates and stone walls. Finally, they stopped before a property that looked less like a home than a place built to survive a siege. The gate opened without anyone touching it. The driveway curved through black trees shining with rain. Security lights glowed along the roofline. Cameras tracked the vehicle. Men in dark coats stood beneath the front awning, speaking into earpieces. Nora stared. "You live here?" Vincent looked almost embarrassed. "My daughter lives here. I try to make it safe." Nora looked at the guards, the cameras, the walls. Safe and happy are not always the same thing. The words left her before she could stop them. Cole in the front seat looked back sharply. Vincent did not. He only watched Lily sleeping against Nora's side. "No," he said quietly. "They are not." Inside, the house was warm but not welcoming. Marble floors reflected chandelier light. Dark wood staircases curved upward into shadow. Paintings lined the walls, old landscapes and stern ancestors, and one large portrait of a woman with kind eyes holding a baby wrapped in white. Nora stopped in front of it. Lily as a baby. The woman must have been Evelyn. Vincent followed her gaze. For a second, his face closed completely. Maggie appeared beside them and touched Nora's elbow gently. "Come upstairs. The doctor is waiting." A doctor in a gray suit cleaned Nora's shoulder in a guest bedroom larger than her entire apartment. The bullet had torn across the top of her shoulder without lodging inside. Lucky, the doctor said. Nora almost told him that luck had a strange sense of humor. Lily refused to leave. She sat on the bed beside Nora, holding Oliver the rabbit in one arm and Nora's hand in the other. Every time Nora winced, Lily's face crumpled. "Did I hurt you?" "No," Nora said, "but you got hurt because of me." Nora turned toward her despite the doctor's warning to stay still. "Lily, look at me." The girl looked up. "I got hurt because bad men brought guns into a diner, not because of you." Lily's eyes filled. "My mom got hurt because bad men put a bomb in her car." The doctor stopped moving. Maggie looked down. Vincent stood near the window, his back to the room. His shoulders went rigid. Nora felt the air leave her chest. Lily spoke softly, almost calmly, in the way children sometimes repeated nightmares they had heard from adults. "I was supposed to go with her, but I had a fever." No one said anything. Nora reached for her with her good arm. Lily leaned in carefully, avoiding the bandage like Nora was made of glass. "I'm glad you had a fever," Nora whispered. Lily began to cry, quietly at first, then harder. Nora held her as best she could while the doctor finished wrapping the wound. Vincent did not turn around until the doctor packed his bag and left. When he finally faced them, his eyes were red but dry. Maggie cleared her throat. "I'll have soup sent up." Nora started to protest. "I should go home." Lily's entire body stiffened. Nora felt it. So did Vincent. Lily did not cry this time. She did something worse. She became very still, like she was practicing losing someone. Nora looked at her small hand on the blanket, then at the rain streaking the tall windows, then at Vincent Callahan, the dangerous man who owned a fortress and still could not protect his child from grief. "I can stay until she falls asleep," Nora said. Lily looked at her. "You promise, Nora?" Hesitated. Promises were dangerous things. They had edges. They could cut people open when they broke. But Lily was staring at her like the whole world had narrowed to the space between yes and no. Nora brushed a loose strand of hair from the child's face. "I promise." That night, Nora sat in a chair beside Lily's bed while the girl drifted in and out of restless sleep. The room was soft, with pink lamps and pale curtains, but it felt too quiet, too carefully arranged, the kind of room adults made when they were trying to replace comfort with expensive things. Lily held Nora's hand under the blanket. At the door, Vincent stood in the hallway, half hidden in shadow. Nora saw him, but did not speak, neither did he. Near midnight, Lily whimpered and twisted in the sheets. "No, Mom, wait." Nora leaned forward at once. "Lily." The girl's eyes opened, unfocused and afraid. "Mom." Nora felt the word hit the wound in her shoulder and the hollow place beneath her ribs. She should have corrected her. Instead, she whispered, "I'm here, sunshine." Lily relaxed one breath at a time. Nora kept holding her hand until the child slept again. When Nora finally looked toward the doorway, Vincent was still there. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were not. They were full of something too broken to be called gratitude, and too careful to be called hope. He gave Nora a single nod. Then he disappeared down the hall, leaving her in the warm dark with his daughter's hand wrapped around hers and the terrible knowledge that leaving this house would not be as simple as walking out the door. Morning found Nora still in the chair beside Lily's bed, with her neck stiff, her shoulder throbbing, and the child's fingers curled around her hand like she had fallen asleep holding on to the edge of a cliff. For a few seconds, Nora did not remember where she was. The room was too large. The curtains were too pale. The ceiling was too high. Rain tapped softly against the windows, and somewhere, beyond the glass, waves moved in the dark gray distance. This was not her apartment above the laundromat. This was not the narrow bed with the spring that dug into her hip. This was not the smell of burnt coffee from the shop downstairs. Then Lily shifted in her sleep and whispered, "Mom." Nora went still. The word landed more gently this time, but it still found the deepest place in her. She looked down at the girl. Lily's face was peaceful now, one cheek pressed into the pillow, dark lashes resting against skin still swollen from tears. Her stuffed rabbit was trapped under one arm. Her other hand held Nora's like it belonged there. Nora told herself to pull away. She did not. The door opened quietly. Maggie Callahan stepped in carrying a tray with coffee toast and a glass of water. She looked nothing like the kind of woman who lived inside a crime family fortress. Her sweater was soft blue. Her hair was pinned back with a silver clip. Her face held worry, but not surprise. "She slept 6 hours," Maggie whispered. Nora blinked. "Is that unusual?" Maggie set the tray down on the dresser. "For Lily, it is almost a miracle." Nora looked back at the child. She woke once. Only once Nora nodded. Maggie's mouth trembled before she controlled it. "Then it really is a miracle." Nora eased her hand from Lily's, moving inch by inch. Lily stirred, but did not wake. Nora stood too quickly and the room tilted. Maggie caught her elbow before she fell. "You need food. I need to go home." Maggie did not argue. She only looked at the sleeping girl. Nora hated her for that just a little. Hated how the silence worked better than words. "My rent is late," Nora said, because practical problems were easier than emotional ones. "My car is probably still near the diner. My manager probably thinks I vanished. I have a brother who answers the phone only when he needs something. I can't just stay in a stranger's mansion because a little girl had a bad night." Maggie's eyes softened. "No one is asking you to make sense of it before breakfast. That is very generous considering I was kidnapped by kindness. You got into the car, with a gunshot wound and a crying child. I was not at my sharpest." Maggie almost smiled. "No, you were at your bravest." Nora looked away. Bravery felt too clean a word for what had happened. She had been terrified. She still was. A knock came from the hallway. Vincent stood at the door. He wore a fresh white shirt and dark slacks. No tie, no jacket. He looked like a man who had tried to dress as if the night had not cracked something open in him. It did not work. The skin beneath his eyes was shadowed. His jaw was rough with stubble. His gaze moved past Nora to Lily, then returned. "Miss Blake," he said. "May I speak with you?" Nora glanced at Maggie. Maggie answered the question she had not asked. "I'll stay with Lily." Nora followed Vincent down the hallway. The house seemed different in the morning. Still beautiful, still guarded, but quieter now. A maid moved through the lower hall with a basket of folded towels. Two men in suits stood near the staircase speaking softly into radios. The air smelled of coffee beeswax and ocean damp. Vincent led Nora into a study at the back of the house. It was a man's room in every obvious way. Dark shelves, leather chairs, heavy curtains, a desk large enough to sign treaties or death warrants. Behind the desk, tall windows looked out over the water where the morning sky hung low and bruised. Vincent did not sit. Nora did because her knees were angry and her shoulder had begun to pulse beneath the bandage. He noticed. "Does it hurt?" "Yes." "I can have the doctor return. I said it hurts. I did not say I was dying." Something flickered across his face. Not amusement exactly, but close. Then it vanished. "I owe you the truth." Nora leaned back carefully. "That sounds like the beginning of a terrible conversation." "It is. At least you're honest." Vincent crossed to the window. For a moment his reflection stared back at her in the glass. The men who attacked the diner answered to Raymond Coyle. Nora waited. Vincent turned. "He has been trying to take territory along the marina. Clubs, shipping routes, union influence. He thought if he struck in public he could make me look weak." Nora felt the words settle one by one. "So, that was about you." "Yes, and Lily was there because she wanted to see her father." His face tightened. "Yes." Nora looked at the carpet beneath her shoes. "She almost died because you took a meeting in a diner." The room went colder. She should have been afraid after saying it. Maybe she was, but the image of Lily in the yellow dress stood between them and Nora could not step around it. Vincent's voice was low. "You think I do not know that I think knowing and changing are not the same thing." He looked at her for a long time. Most men would have yelled. Men like Vincent Callahan, men with guards at every door. And enemies in the ground probably did not enjoy being challenged by waitresses in borrowed sweaters. But he only said, "You are right." The admission struck harder than anger would have. Nora looked up. Vincent went to the desk and picked up a folder. "Coyle's people know you saved Lily. They know she attached herself to you. They know you left the diner with us. By now they likely know where you live, where you work, and who your family is. Nora's fingers went cold. My brother. We are already looking for him. Her chair scraped back as she stood. You had no right. Vincent did not flinch. I had every reason. That is not the same thing. No, it is not. Nora pressed her good hand against the desk, steadying herself. Is Ben in danger? If Coyle learns you matter to Lily, anyone connected to you could become useful to him. Useful. The word made her stomach turn. People are not tools. In my world, people become whatever the cruelest man in the room can use. Nora stared at him. And you are what in that world Vincent held her gaze. Usually the cruelest man in the room. A silence opened between them. He did not say it with pride. That was what frightened her. He said it like a fact he had learned to live with. Then he pushed the folder toward her. There is money in the account listed there. Enough to clear your debts and start over. I can put you in a safe apartment in Boston, Chicago, Denver, wherever you choose. New identification if needed. A job that does not involve serving coffee to men who bring violence to your door. Nora looked at the folder but did not touch it. You are offering to erase me. I am offering to keep you alive. I was alive yesterday. Yesterday, Coyle did not know your name. Nora laughed once sharp and empty. Yesterday, my landlord knew it. My brother knew it when he needed cash. My manager knew it when a double shift opened. That was about it. Vincent's expression changed. Nora hated that she had said so much. She stepped back. I need air. He did not stop her. She found the garden through a side door near the breakfast room. The rain had faded to mist, leaving the stone paths slick and the hedges shining. Beyond the lawn, the ocean moved under a sky the color of steel. Nora walked until the house was behind her, and the cold got through the borrowed sweater. A greenhouse stood at the edge of the garden, its glass panes fogged from within. She almost went inside, then heard soft voices. Maggie and Lily. Nora stopped beside a hedge. I scared her, Lily said. You had a scary night, Maggie answered. She wants to leave. Nora's throat tightened. Maggie was quiet for a moment. People get to choose where they belong, sweetheart. What if nobody chooses me? Nora closed her eyes. Maggie's voice broke slightly. Your father chooses you every day, but Daddy is sad when he chooses me. Nora opened her eyes. That was the thing about children. They heard what adults tried to bury. They saw the shape of pain, even when no one explained it. Lily spoke again, smaller this time. When Mom died, Daddy stopped singing. Maggie did not answer. I remember one song Lily whispered, but not all of it. Nora stepped away before she could hear more. She found herself at the greenhouse door and went inside. Warmth wrapped around her. The air smelled of soil roses and wet leaves. Rows of clay pots lined the benches. Some held herbs. Some held flowers. Some were empty, waiting. A framed photograph sat on a shelf near the back. A woman with dark hair and kind eyes knelt in this same greenhouse laughing at something outside the frame. Her hands were covered in dirt. A little girl, barely more than a toddler, sat beside her with mud on her cheeks. Evelyn. Nora heard the door open behind her. Vincent stepped in. He did not seem surprised to find her there. She loved this place, he said. Nora looked at the photograph. Lily's mother, yes. Vincent moved beside her, not too close. Evelyn used to say flowers made a house tell the truth. What does that mean? He looked around the greenhouse. If things bloom, people are living there. If nothing grows, the house is only pretending. Nora glanced back toward the mansion. That house is doing a lot of pretending. Vincent's mouth tightened, but he did not deny it. She died in a car bombing, he said. It was meant for me. Nora stayed still. Lily had a fever that morning. Evelyn almost took her anyway. Lily cried because she wanted to go. I told Evelyn to leave her home. His voice did not change, but Nora felt the effort it took. 20 minutes later, the car exploded 3 blocks from here. The greenhouse seemed to shrink around them. Nora whispered Vincent. He looked at the photograph. Lily thinks she survived by mistake. I think Evelyn died because I was too arrogant to see the threat clearly. We are both wrong, probably. That has not made either of us feel less guilty. Nora touched the edge of the shelf with her fingertips. No wonder Lily had called her mom. Not because Nora had replaced anyone. Because in one wild, bloody moment, Nora had done what Lily's whole world had failed to do. She had reached her in time. Vincent said, "Since that day, I have given Lily guards, gates, tutors, drivers, cameras, doctors." Nora looked at him. "But not yourself." His eyes cut to hers. She continued softly, "You are here. But are you with her?" The question hurt him. She saw it land. I do not know how to be near her without reminding her of what she lost. Maybe she is already reminded every time you leave the room. Vincent turned away. She looks at me and sees the reason her mother is gone. Is that what she says no? Then maybe that is what you say when you look at yourself. His hand closed around the edge of the bench. For a second, Nora thought he might snap the wood. Instead, he breathed out slowly. "You speak very freely for someone in my house." Nora's heart beat faster, but her voice held. "I think someone needs to." A strange quiet passed between them. Not peaceful, alive. Vincent looked at her shoulder. "You should not have had to save her." "No, I should have reached her first." "Yes." He flinched at her honesty. Nora softened. "But you did not freeze because you did not care. You froze because for 1 second you saw your wife die all over again." His eyes darkened. "You do not know me well enough to say that." "No, but I know grief. It makes cowards of people who are not cowardly." Vincent stared at her as if she had put a hand through his ribs and touched something no one else had found. The greenhouse door opened before he could answer. Maggie stood there with Lily beside her. Lily's eyes went straight to Nora. "You left the room." Nora crouched, ignoring the pinch in her shoulder. "I needed air. Are you leaving the house?" The question was too careful. Nora felt Vincent behind her silent. "I have not decided." Lily nodded with adult seriousness. "Okay." She tried to be brave. It was worse than crying. Nora reached out. Lily stepped into her arms at once, careful of the bandage. "I don't want to make you stay," Lily whispered. Nora closed her eyes. "You are not making me do anything. But if you go, can you say goodbye first?" The words scraped Nora raw. She opened her eyes and looked past Lily at Vincent. His face was turned away, but his jaw was tight enough to hurt. Nora held the child closer. "Yes," she said, "I can promise that." That evening, Lily had another nightmare. It came without warning. One moment, the house was quiet, wrapped in the blue hush after dinner. The next, a scream tore down the hall. Nora was in the guest room trying to button one of Maggie's borrowed shirts over her bandage. She ran before thinking, bare feet hitting the polished floor. Vincent reached Lily's door, at the same time his hair damp from a shower, a gun already in his hand. They looked at each other for half a breath. Then Nora opened the door. Lily was tangled in the sheets, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "No, Mom, don't start the car. Don't go. Please don't go." Vincent stopped in the doorway like he had been shot. Nora climbed onto the bed. "Lily, sunshine. Open your eyes." The girl fought her for a moment, trapped in whatever burning memory had taken her. Nora lowered her voice. "No car, no fire. You're in your room. I am here. Your daddy is here. Lily's eyes opened. She gasped. Mom. Nora gathered her close. I am here. Vincent made a sound so quiet, Nora almost missed it. Lily looked toward him. Daddy? He stepped forward slowly and set the gun on the dresser far away from the bed. I am here too, Piccola. Lily reached for him. Vincent looked almost startled, then sat on the edge of the bed. His large hand covered Lily's small one. I couldn't save her. Lily sobbed. Vincent's face broke. No, baby. That was never your job. I was supposed to go. No, I should have been there. His voice roughened. No. God, no. Lily cried harder. Vincent looked helplessly at Nora. Nora whispered, tell her. He swallowed. Then he bent over his daughter's hand. Your mother loved you more than anything in this life. She would have burned the whole world down to keep you safe. You being home that day was not a mistake. It was the only mercy we were given. Lily shook her head against Nora's chest. But she left. Vincent closed his eyes. Yes, everyone leaves. Nora held her breath. Vincent opened his eyes and looked at Nora over Lily's head. Then he said the words like they cost him blood. I have been leaving too, even when I was in the house. Lily went still. Vincent touched her hair. I am sorry. Nora felt the room change. Not fixed. Nothing so simple. But something moved. A locked door opening a little. A child hearing the truth without being asked to carry it alone. Lily sniffled. Can you stay until I sleep? Vincent looked at Nora, then back at his daughter. Yes. Lily grabbed Nora's hand too. Both Nora should have said she needed rest. Should have kept distance. Should have remembered the folder in Vincent's study and the danger with her name on it. Instead, she settled beside Lily. Both. Lily fell asleep between them an hour later, her breathing uneven but calm. Vincent remained on the edge of the bed long after Nora thought he might leave. Their hands rested close on the blanket, not touching. When Nora finally stood, Vincent followed her into the hall. The door closed softly behind them. He spoke first. I meant what I said. I can get you out tonight. Nora looked down the hallway toward the stairs. And if I stay... His face hardened, but his eyes did not. You live with guards. You lose privacy. Coil may use you. My enemies become a fact of your life. People around me get hurt, Nora. It was the first time he used her name. She felt it more than she wanted to. My life was not exactly safe before you, she said. It was just smaller. That is not an answer. She turned to him. What does Lily want? Vincent looked toward the closed door. My daughter wants a mother who does not disappear. The honesty in his voice nearly undid her. And what do you want? He did not answer right away. Rain moved against the windows at the end of the hall. Finally, Vincent said, I want my daughter to wake up without fear in her throat. I want her to laugh without looking guilty. I want to stop seeing my wife's death in every room of this house. His gaze returned to Nora. And I want you to choose freely, because if you stay out of pity, Lily feels it. If you stay out of fear, Coil wins. If you stay because you think you can fix us, this house eats you alive. Nora's chest tightened. Then what reason is left? Vincent's voice dropped. The only reason that matters. She knew what he meant. Love was too big a word for this. Too soon. Too dangerous. But choice was sitting right there between them, quiet and sharp. Nora went back to the study before dawn. Vincent followed. The folders still sat on the desk. Money, escape, a clean door out of a dirty world. She opened it and looked at the papers. There was enough there to pay her rent for years. Enough to get Ben help, enough to disappear into a life where no one called her mom by mistake, and no man with ocean-dark eyes looked at her like she was both salvation and danger. Her fingers rested on the top page. Then she closed the folder. "I'm not promising forever," she said. Vincent did not move. "But I am not leaving today." His face went very still. Nora continued, "Not because I am brave. Not because I understand your world. I don't. I'm scared of it. I'm scared of you sometimes. That is wise. I know." A corner of his mouth almost moved. She stepped closer to the desk. "But last night, Lily reached for both of us. And for the first time since I met her, she did not look like a child waiting to be abandoned." Vincent lowered his eyes. Nora pushed the folder back toward him. "So, if I stay, I need to know the rules. Real ones, not the polite version. I need to know how to keep her safe. I need to know who Coil is. I need to know what not to say, where not to stand, and when to duck." Vincent looked up. There was grief in him still. Fear, too. But beneath it, something else had begun to wake. Respect. Cole can teach you security protocol. I was not asking Cole. His eyes sharpened. Nora held his gaze. "You brought this danger to her door. Teach me how to see it coming." Vincent studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Be in the East Wing at 7. Nora turned toward the door, then paused. "Vincent." He looked at her. "If I stay, I am not staying as furniture in your fortress." "No," he said quietly. "I do not think anyone could mistake you for that." She left the study as morning light began to spread through the windows, pale and silver over the dark wood floor. Upstairs, Lily slept with one hand tucked beneath her cheek. Outside, guards changed posts beneath the gray sky. Nora walked toward the East Wing with her shoulder aching, her heart unsteady, and her name now tied to a family that lived behind gates, secrets, and loaded guns. The East Wing did not feel like part of a home. It felt like the inside of a decision no one wanted to explain. The walls were reinforced behind the polished wood. The windows looked normal until Vincent tapped the glass with 2 fingers and told Nora it could stop most rifle rounds. A narrow hallway led to a hidden stairwell. A bookcase opened into a panic room stocked with water medical kits, blankets, radios, and a small shelf of children's books that looked painfully out of place beside the emergency supplies. Nora stood in the doorway and stared. "This is where Lily hides Vincent," did not correct the word. "Yes." Nora stepped inside. The room was clean, warm, and carefully prepared. There were pillows on a small sofa, a lamp shaped like a moon, a pink blanket folded in the corner. Someone had tried to make fear comfortable. She touched one of the books. "Does she know how to get here alone?" "Yes." "How old was she when you taught her?" Vincent's silence answered before he did. 4. Nora turned to him. She was 4 years old and learning how to run to a panic room. His face gave nothing away, but his eyes did. She was 4 years old when her mother died in a burning car. I did not have the luxury of pretending the world was gentle. Nora looked back at the little moon lamp. No, but maybe she deserved at least one room where the world did not follow her in. Vincent stood very still. Most people in his life would have backed down after that. Nora could feel it in the air, the weight of a man used to obedience. But she had seen Lily twist herself into silence. She had heard the girl apologize for needing comfort. She could not unhear it. Vincent walked past her into the room and picked up the pink blanket. "Evelyn bought this," he said, "the day before she died." Nora's anger thinned, not because she had been wrong, but because grief had stepped into the room and taken a seat between them. Vincent folded the blanket again with careful hands. "I keep trying to protect what is left of them both." Nora's voice softened. "I know." He looked at her. But protection cannot be the only language Lily hears." Vincent watched her for a long moment. Then he nodded toward the door. "Show me." Nora blinked. "What?" "Show me another language." That was how it began. Not with grand promises, not with a clean change of heart. With Vincent Callahan standing in a panic room at 7 in the morning, asking a waitress with a bandaged shoulder how to make his daughter's world less cold. By breakfast, Lily knew something had shifted. She sat at the long dining table in a pale blue sweater, her stuffed rabbit beside her plate watching Nora over a bowl of untouched oatmeal. Vincent sat at the other end with a black coffee, a phone, and the posture of a man trying not to frighten the room. Maggie poured orange juice. "Eat, darling." Lily pushed the spoon through the oatmeal. "Is Nora leaving today?" The question landed in the silverware and porcelain. Nora set down her coffee. "No." Lily looked up too quickly. "No, no." For how long Nora could feel Vincent watching her. She chose the truth but softened its edges. "For now, I'm staying." Lily's shoulders lowered a little. "Because Daddy said no." Nora said. "Because I said." The child absorbed that carefully. Her gaze moved from Nora to Vincent and back again. "Can we make pancakes?" Maggie smiled into her cup. Vincent looked faintly alarmed. Nora raised an eyebrow. For breakfast, Lily nodded. "Oatmeal tastes like wet paper." Vincent said Lily. Nora picked up the oatmeal spoon and looked into the bowl. "She's not wrong." For 1 second, silence held. Then Maggie laughed. It was not a polite laugh. It was real warm, surprised. Lily smiled as if the sound itself had turned on a light. Vincent looked at his sister, then at his daughter, then at Nora. "Pancakes," he said. Lily's eyes widened. "Really?" Vincent folded his napkin with grave seriousness. "It seems I have been outvoted by a woman with a gunshot wound and a 6-year-old food critic." Nora carried the victory into the kitchen. The first batch burned. The second stuck to the pan. The third came out shaped like something between a cloud and a crime scene. Lily insisted it looked like a starfish. Nora said it looked like New Jersey if New Jersey had given up. Maggie laughed again. Even one of the guards by the door lowered his head to hide a smile. Vincent stayed near the doorway at first, not inside the warmth, not outside it, watching like a man who had forgotten the rules of ordinary joy. Lily noticed. Daddy come flip one. His first instinct was refusal. Nora saw it move across his face. The old habit, the distance, the fear of touching something delicate with hands trained for darker work. Then he crossed the kitchen. Nora handed him the spatula. "Wrist loose," she said. Vincent looked at the pan like it might betray him. "I negotiate with killers." "Good. Then breakfast should only be mildly terrifying." Lily giggled. Vincent tried to flip the pancake. It folded in half and landed badly. Nora stared at it. "That pancake owed you money." Maggie covered her mouth. Lily laughed so hard she nearly fell off the stool. Vincent looked at the ruined pancake, then at Nora. For the first time since she had met him, he smiled. It was small, brief, almost private. But it changed his whole face. And Nora felt something inside her answer before she could tell it not to. The days began arranging themselves around small things. Nora learned that Lily liked her bedroom door open exactly 4 inches. Not 3, not 5, 4. She learned that thunderstorms made the girl go quiet before they made her cry. She learned that Lily loved ballet but hated being watched while practicing because her mother had been the one who used to clap from the couch. So Nora stopped watching. She sat on the floor with her back turned, pretending to read a magazine while Lily practiced turns behind her. "You're peeking," Lily said one afternoon. "I am deeply invested in this article about coastal kitchen tiles. You don't care about tiles. I might. You don't know my soul." Lily spun once, then twice. Her shoes whispered against the polished floor. Nora kept her eyes on the magazine. Was that good? It sounded beautiful. You can't hear beautiful. Of course you can. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Mom used to say that. Nora's throat tightened. What else did she say? Lily stopped moving. Adults usually became nervous when Evelyn entered the room through memory. They changed the subject, softened their voices, looked toward Vincent as if grief needed permission. Nora did not. She only waited. Lily sat beside her on the floor. She said, Roses listen better than people. Nora smiled. I believe that. She said Daddy sang badly. That I also believe. A small laugh escaped Lily. The door was open, and Vincent was standing in the hall. Nora saw him only because his shadow shifted. He did not step in. He did not interrupt. But when Lily said, I don't want to forget her, Vincent closed his eyes. Nora gently set the magazine aside. Then we won't let that happen. Lily looked at her. How? We ask people for stories. Maggie, your dad, anyone who loved her. Daddy doesn't talk about her. Nora looked toward the doorway. Vincent had not moved. Maybe he forgot that remembering can hurt and help at the same time. Lily pulled Oliver into her lap. Can you ask him? Nora touched the rabbit's worn ear. I can try. That evening, Nora found Vincent in the greenhouse. He stood among Evelyn's roses with his sleeves rolled to his forearms and a phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, controlled, lethal. I do not care what Coyle heard. I care how he heard it. Find the leak. He ended the call when he saw Nora. You should not walk the grounds without Cole. I can see 3 guards from here. That is not the point. No. The point is you're scared. His jaw tightened. You mistake caution for fear. No, I don't. He looked away first. That felt like victory and danger all at once. Nora stepped closer to the rose bushes. Tiny new buds had begun to open pale pink against the green. Lily asked about Evelyn today. Vincent's face changed. Did she's afraid of forgetting her. His hand closed around the phone. She will not forget. She needs stories, Vincent. Not portraits. Not rooms you keep untouched. Stories. He stared at the roses. I do not know where to begin. With something small. There was nothing small about Evelyn. Nora smiled gently. That sounds like a beginning. The wind moved against the greenhouse glass. For a moment, Vincent said nothing. Then his voice shifted, becoming quieter, almost younger. She hated expensive coffee. Nora blinked. What? She said men who paid $12 for coffee deserved to be robbed by the cup. She drank gas station coffee with too much cream and called it honest. Nora laughed softly. Vincent glanced at her, surprised by the sound. She also sang to the radio even when she did not know the words. She made up half of them badly. Did you tell her they were bad once? And she did not speak to me for 3 hours. Nora smiled. I think I would have liked her. Vincent looked at the roses again. She would have liked you. The words settled between them, tender and dangerous. Nora felt the pull of him then. Not the power. Not the money. Not the darkness people whispered about in diners. The man beneath it, damaged and trying, standing in a greenhouse full of his dead wife's flowers, offering memory like a fragile thing in his hands. She stepped back before the feeling could show too clearly. Tell Lily that story. His eyes met hers. The coffee one, the singing one too. She'll like knowing her mother was ridiculous. She was never ridiculous, Vincent. His mouth softened. She was occasionally dramatic. Better. Later that night, he told Lily. Nora watched from the hallway as Vincent sat on the edge of his daughter's bed, awkward at first, then steadier as Lily leaned closer. He told her about Evelyn singing the wrong words to every song on the radio. Lily laughed with tears in her eyes. Nora turned to leave before they saw her. Cole Mercer stood at the end of the hall, arms crossed. "You're changing things." Nora stopped. "Is that a warning?" "Observation. With you, I can't tell the difference." Cole's expression did not change. "In this house, change gets people killed. In this house, staying the same is not working either." He studied her for a long second. "You always talk like that. Only when men with guns annoy me." To her surprise, Cole almost smiled. "You need to learn how to shoot." "No. Yes, I hate guns. Most people who survive them do." Nora looked back toward the Lily's room. "I don't want to become part of this." Cole's voice lowered. "You already are. The question is whether you want to be helpless inside it." The next morning, Nora learned how to hold a gun in the training room beneath the east wing. She hated the weight of it. Hated how cold it felt in her palm. Hated how Vincent watched her from behind the glass expression, unreadable. Cole stood beside her. Both hands. "Do not close your eyes before the shot. I am not going to shoot anyone. Hope not. That is your training, that is the prayer. Training is for what happens when prayer fails." The first shot made her flinch so hard her shoulder burned. She lowered the gun, breathing fast. "I can't." Cole did not soften. "You can." "I said I can't." From behind the glass, Vincent entered the room. Cole stepped back. Vincent came to Nora's side but did not touch her. "You ran through bullets carrying my daughter," he said quietly. "This is not stronger than you." Nora stared at the target, eyes burning. "I don't want this world in my hands." "I know. She is 6. I know. She should be learning songs, not safe room codes." Vincent's voice broke around the edge. "I know. That did it. Not his power. Not his command. His grief." Nora lifted the gun again. Her hands shook, but she kept her eyes open. She fired. The shot hit the outer edge of the target. Cole nodded once. Again. Over the next few weeks, the house changed by inches. A vase of fresh flowers appeared in the dining room. Lily put it there herself after Nora taught her how to cut the stems at an angle. Vincent began coming home before dinner. Not every night at first, then more often. Sometimes he arrived still carrying the weight of whatever he had done outside the gates, but he left his phone in the study and sat at the table anyway. Lily noticed every time. One night she asked him to help with a school project about family trees. Vincent froze. Nora watched from the kitchen doorway. The poster board lay on the table, covered in markers, photographs, and glue sticks. Evelyn's picture was already near the center. Lily had drawn roses around it. "Can Nora be on it?" Lily asked. Maggie went still. Vincent looked at Nora. Nora's heart lurched. "Sweetheart, family trees are usually for relatives." Lily's brow furrowed. "But she is here." Vincent looked down at his daughter. Then he picked up a marker and handed it to her. "Then put her where you think she belongs." Lily smiled and glued a small photo of Nora near her own name. Nora could not speak. Vincent saw. He said nothing. He only capped the marker and pushed the glue away before Lily could ruin the table. That night, danger found its way back in. Nora was in the laundry room folding one of Lily's sweaters when her phone buzzed. The number was unknown. She opened the message. A photograph filled the screen. Her old apartment building. Rain-stained brick. The laundromat sign below her window. The fire escape where she used to sit when the rooms felt too small. Another message came. A photo of Ben walking out of a pawn shop, head down, hoodie pulled up. Then the words. "You chose Callahan's family. Choose what happens to yours." Nora's body went cold so fast she thought she might faint. The room narrowed. The scent of detergent turned sharp. Her shoulder, mostly healed, now began to ache, as if the bullet had found her again. She called Ben. No answer. She called again. No answer. A third time. Nothing. Nora Vincent stood in the doorway. She turned the phone face down too late. His eyes moved to her hand. What happened? Nothing. He stepped into the room. Nora. The way he said her name made lying harder. She handed him the phone. Vincent read the messages. The change in him was immediate and terrifying. Every trace of warmth vanished. The man in the greenhouse, the father at the dinner table, the almost smile over burned pancakes, all of it disappeared beneath something black and ancient. "Coil," he said. Nora grabbed his wrist before he could turn away. "Don't." His gaze dropped to her hand. She let go, but did not step back. "Do not go burn down the city before we know where Ben is. Your brother has been threatened because of me." "Yes, and if you react like a monster, Coil gets exactly what he wants." Vincent's jaw flexed. "My men can find him, then find him, alive, quietly." The word quietly seemed to cost him. Cole entered seconds later, summoned without Nora hearing a call. Vincent handed him the phone. "Find Ben Blake, now. No noise unless needed." Cole looked at Nora. For the first time there was no suspicion in his face, only focus. "We'll get him." Nora nodded, but her knees weakened. Vincent saw and reached for her. This time she let him. His hand closed gently around her elbow, warm and steady. "I am sorry," he said. She looked up at him. The apology did not fix anything. It did not make Ben safe. It did not erase the truth that her life had been pulled into a war she never chose. But it mattered that he said it. "My brother is an idiot," she whispered. "But he is my idiot." Vincent's mouth tightened. "Then we bring him home." Hours passed like broken glass. Nora waited in the study with Maggie while Vincent and Cole moved through phone calls, surveillance feeds, and names Nora did not know. Lily had been sent upstairs with a movie and 2 guards outside her door, but she appeared halfway down the staircase in her pajamas. Oliver clutched to her chest. "Is Nora sad?" Maggie went to her. "Come here, darling." Lily looked past her to Nora. Nora forced herself to stand. "I'm okay." Lily frowned. "You look like you did in the alley." Nora walked to the stairs and crouched. "My brother is in some trouble. Your dad is helping." Lily looked toward Vincent in the study. "Daddy fixes trouble." Nora followed her gaze. Vincent was on the phone by the window, his voice quiet, one hand braced against the glass. "I hope so." Lily touched Nora's cheek with small fingers. "You can hold Oliver until he does?" Nora almost broke. She accepted the rabbit with both hands. "Thank you." Just after midnight, Cole returned. Ben was alive. Bruised, terrified, and hiding in the back room of a closed bar near the marina after 2 of Coyle's men had tried to grab him. Cole's team had gotten there first. Nora sat down hard in Vincent's chair. Vincent ended his call and crossed the room. "He is safe." She pressed Oliver to her chest and closed her eyes. "Where is he being brought here?" Her eyes opened. "Here, it is the safest place," Nora almost argued. Then she looked at Lily on the stairs, Maggie's arm around her shoulders, Vincent standing between all of them and whatever waited outside. For once, she did not have to be the only person holding the line. Ben arrived an hour later with a split lip, shaking hands, and the shame of a man who had finally seen the size of the trouble chasing him. When he saw Nora, his face crumpled. "Nor," she slapped him. Not hard enough to injure him, hard enough to wake every bad decision in his body. Then she hugged him. "You stupid, stupid man." He clung to her. "I'm sorry." Vincent watched from across the foyer, saying nothing. Ben pulled back and noticed him. His eyes widened. "Oh, God." Nora wiped her face. "Yes, that is approximately the situation." Vincent stepped forward. "Mr. Blake?" Ben swallowed. "Sir, you will be protected here until this is resolved. While under my roof, you do not leave without permission, you do not use drugs, you do not gamble, and you do not lie to your sister." Ben nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Vincent's voice lowered. "If you bring danger near my daughter, there will not be a second conversation." Nora shot him a look. Vincent looked back at her. "What I said conversation?" Ben looked between them with visible confusion and fresh terror. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs. "Is that Nora's brother?" Nora turned. "Yes." Lily came down 2 steps. He looked scared. Ben gave a weak laugh. "I am." Lily nodded solemnly. "It's okay. This house is scary first. Then it gets better." Vincent looked at Nora. Nora looked back. Neither of them smiled, not quite. But something passed between them that felt dangerously close to belonging. Later, after Lily returned to bed, and Ben was placed in a guarded guest room, Nora stood on the balcony overlooking the black ocean. The wind pulled at her hair. Her hands were wrapped around a mug of tea Maggie had pressed on her, and she had not drunk. Vincent stepped out behind her. "Your brother is safe. For tonight." "Yes." She looked at the water. "Do you ever get tired of saying that?" "What for tonight?" "For now. Until it's handled. Until the next man with a gun. Until the next debt. Until the next funeral." Vincent stood beside her. "Yes." The answer surprised her. He continued, "I am tired in places I do not speak of." The honesty moved through her slowly. She turned toward him. "Then why keep doing it?" "Because I built a life out of power. And power does not let go just because a man grows weary. Maybe not. But men can let go." He looked at her. "You make it sound simple. No, I make it sound possible." The ocean struck the rocks below steady and dark. Vincent reached out, then stopped giving her the choice. Nora saw it. The space between them. The restraint. The question. She stepped into him. His arms closed around her carefully, as if he remembered every place she had been hurt. Nora rested her forehead against his chest and listened to his heart strong and uneven beneath her ear. For a long time neither of them spoke. Then Vincent said quietly, "Wanting you here is selfish." Nora closed her eyes. "Maybe. I should send you away. Do you want to?" His answer came without hesitation. "No." She lifted her head. His face was close now, carved by moonlight and shadow. Beautiful in the way storms were beautiful when you were foolish enough to stand outside and watch them arrive. Nora whispered, "Then stop asking me to leave." Vincent's hand rose to her cheek. He touched her like she was something he did not deserve and could not stop reaching for. "I do not know how to love without ruining what I touch." Nora's breath caught, then learned slower. He bent his head. The kiss was not soft at first. It was restrained, almost painful, with everything held back. Then Nora's hand curled into his shirt and his control broke just enough for warmth to come through. He tasted like coffee and rain and regret. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. Inside the house, somewhere upstairs, Lily laughed in her sleep. Nora smiled before she could stop herself. Vincent heard it too. His eyes softened. For one suspended moment, with the ocean and darkness below, and danger still circling beyond the gates, the fortress did not feel like a cage. It felt like a house learning how to become a home. By morning, the kiss on the balcony had become something neither Nora nor Vincent spoke about, but the house seemed to know. Maggie knew because she looked at Nora over breakfast with one eyebrow lifted and too much patience in her smile. Cole knew because he entered the dining room, saw Vincent standing closer to Nora than usual, and immediately looked as if he wanted to walk back out. Lily knew because children always knew the things adults tried to hide. She sat at the table in her school sweater, swinging her legs beneath the chair, looking from Nora to Vincent and back again. "Why are you both quiet?" Nora nearly choked on her coffee. Vincent lowered his newspaper, though he had not turned a page in 10 minutes. "I am always quiet." Lily pointed her spoon at him. "Not like this." Maggie made a small sound into her cup. Nora shot her a warning look. Lily narrowed her eyes. "Did something happen?" Vincent folded the newspaper with great care. "Yes, your aunt is enjoying herself too much." Maggie smiled sweetly. "I find joy where I can." Lily looked unconvinced, but the moment broke when Ben stumbled into the dining room wearing borrowed sweatpants and the haunted expression of a man who had slept under armed protection and realized his life had become much worse than his bad decisions had promised. He stopped in the doorway. "Am I allowed to eat?" Lily looked at him with solemn concern. "This house feeds scared people." Ben blinked. Nora pressed her lips together. Vincent gestured toward the table. "Sit down." Ben sat immediately. He kept his eyes on his plate while a housekeeper placed eggs and toast in front of him. His lip was swollen. One cheek was bruised. His hands shook when he reached for the orange juice. Nora wanted to yell at him again. She also wanted to tuck a blanket around his shoulders and ask him why he had never learned that love did not always have to arrive after damage. Instead, she passed him the butter. He looked up. "I'm sorry, I know." "No, Nor, I mean it, I know." That was all she could manage without crying. Vincent watched them quietly. Nora felt his gaze, but it did not press. It held back. That was the thing about him that kept surprising her. He had the power to fill every room he entered, yet, when something mattered, he could make space. Cole entered before breakfast ended. The softness in the room disappeared. Vincent saw it first. What Cole looked at Lily, then Nora. Vincent stood. "My study." Nora stood too. Vincent looked at her. "Nora, if it is about Coyle, I am coming." His eyes hardened. "That is not a breakfast conversation. Good thing I'm finished." Maggie reached for Lily's hand. "Come with me, darling. We need to find your blue hair ribbon." Lily looked from adult to adult. Bad news. No one answered quickly enough. Nora crouched beside her chair. "Yes, but you are safe." Lily touched Nora's bandaged shoulder, though it had almost healed. "Are you?" Nora took her hand. "I am in this house with you." Lily studied her face. Then she nodded, accepting the only answer Nora could give. In the study, Cole laid photographs across Vincent's desk. An abandoned casino on the north end of the boardwalk. Broken sign. Chained doors. Graffiti along the side entrance. A place tourists no longer photographed because Atlantic City had a way of letting bright things rot in public. Vincent's face turned cold. "He wants a meeting there." Cole nodded. "Tonight, 10 o'clock. Just you and 2 men." Ben stood near the wall, pale. "That place belongs to Coyle." Vincent looked at him. "You know it." Ben swallowed. "I lost money there once before it closed. Then after it closed, some guys still ran games in the basement." Nora stared at him. "Of course you did. I said I was sorry. You're going to need a bigger word." Cole tapped one photograph. "It is a trap," Vincent said. "Yes." Nora crossed her arms. "Then you are not going." Everyone looked at her. Cole looked as if he had just watched someone slap a wolf. Vincent's voice was calm. "Nora. No. Don't say my name in that tone. He wants you there, so do not go there. If I do not go, he keeps reaching for Lily, for you, for your brother, then call the police." Cole gave a humorless laugh. Nora turned on him. "What is funny? The police have been trying to put Vincent away for 15 years. Then give them someone worse." Vincent went still. Nora looked back at him. You said power does not let go. Maybe it does if you hand it another throat. Silence. Maggie appeared in the doorway, having heard enough to stop pretending she was not listening. Vincent looked at his sister. She stepped into the room. Nora is not wrong. Cole frowned. We cannot trust cops with this. Maggie said, We do not need to trust them. We need to aim them. Vincent looked at the photographs again. The room waited for him. Nora saw the war inside him. Not fear of Coyle. Not fear of death. Something harder. Vincent knew how to answer violence with violence. It was the language that had built his name. But Lily had begun to sleep. She had begun to laugh. She had glued Nora to her family tree with purple glitter. If Vincent walked into that casino as the man Coyle expected, he might win the night and lose the part of himself that was trying to come home. He picked up one photograph. Cole, find me evidence that connects Coyle to the diner attack and Ben's attempted grab. Cole's eyes narrowed. We have pieces. Make them whole. Nora breathed out. Vincent looked at her. I am still going, her breath caught. You just heard me. I did, and Coyle will not show his hand unless he thinks I have come to end this the old way. Nora stepped closer. You are not bulletproof. No. Lily cannot lose you. His face softened. I know. You cannot say that and still walk into a trap. Vincent moved around the desk until he stood in front of her. I am not walking in blind. I am not walking in angry, and I am not leaving Lily unprotected. Nora wanted to argue. She wanted to grab his shirt and call him every cruel name fear could invent. Instead, she lowered her voice. Then tell her before you go. A shadow crossed his face. No. Yes, I will not put that fear in her. She already feels it. Children feel the shape of every lie in a house. Maggie looked down. Cole said nothing. Vincent's jaw tightened. Nora's voice softened. She needs to know you trust her with the truth. Not all of it. Enough. For a long moment, Vincent only looked at her. Then he nodded once. Lily was in the greenhouse when they found her sitting on the floor beside Evelyn's roses with Oliver in her lap. She was not crying. That almost made it worse. Vincent crouched in front of her. Piccola. You're going somewhere. Nora stayed near the doorway close enough for Lily to see her far enough to let Vincent be the father he was trying to become. Vincent said, Yes. Because of the bad man? Yes. Lily looked at the roses. Is he the same bad man from the diner? Vincent took a breath. Yes. Lily's fingers tightened around Oliver. Are you going to hurt him? The question stopped him. Nora watched his face. Watched the old Vincent rise, the one who would have known exactly how to answer before a waitress and a wounded child rearranged his world. Then he said, I am going to stop him. Lily looked at him. Is that different? Vincent swallowed. I am trying to make it different. Lily reached for his hand. Will you come back? His voice roughened. Yes. Promise promises again. Nora felt the old fear in that word. Vincent did not answer quickly. He took Lily's hand in both of his. I promise I will do everything I can to come back to you. Lily studied him, then nodded. It was not enough. It was only true. Sometimes true was the kindest thing left. That evening, the house moved into lockdown. The warmth did not disappear, but it folded itself carefully away. Guards shifted posts. Doors were checked. Cameras glowed in corners. Maggie stayed with Lily in the safe room, though Lily insisted Nora come too. Nora knelt in front of her. I will be close. Lily's face tightened. With Daddy. No. In the house. Where I can find you. Lily leaned forward and whispered, If I get scared, can I call you Mom? Nora felt the room blur. Maggie turned away. Nora touched Lily's cheek. You can call me whenever you need me. That is not what I asked. Nora closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, Vincent was standing at the safe room door, watching. Nora looked at Lily. Yes, she said, you can call me Mom. Lily wrapped both arms around her neck, careful but fierce. I love you. The words struck harder than the bullet ever had. Nora held her close. I love you too, sunshine. When Lily finally let go, she turned to Vincent. You have to bring Nora back too. Vincent looked at Nora. I know. Outside night settled over Atlantic City with rain in its mouth. The abandoned casino stood at the end of a dead stretch of boardwalk where the lights had gone out years ago. Its old sign still clung to the roof, half the letters missing. Once it had promised luck. Now it offered only broken glass-soaked carpet and the stale smell of money long gone. Vincent entered through the front doors with Cole and one other man behind him. He wore no overcoat, no visible weapon. His white shirt looked too bright in the dark lobby. Raymond Coyle waited near the center of the old casino floor. He was smaller than Nora had imagined when Vincent had described him later. That was the thing about cruel men. They were often smaller than the damage they caused. Narrow face, pale eyes, a smile that made even silence feel dirty. You came light, Coyle said. Vincent looked around the ruined room. You asked for a meeting. Coyle laughed. I asked for surrender. Vincent stopped 10 feet away. You hit a diner full of civilians. I hit your pride. You aimed at my daughter. Coyle's smile thinned and found your weakness. Vincent said nothing. Coyle tilted his head. I heard about the waitress. Pretty girl, brave girl, stupid girl. Does she warm your bed now or just babysit the grief? Cole shifted behind Vincent. Vincent did not. That was when Coyle understood something had changed. He had expected rage. He had expected the old Vincent, the man who answered insult with blood. Instead, Vincent stood in the broken casino lights, still as stone. Coyle's expression sharpened. You think you can become clean, now men like us do not get baptized by a waitress. Vincent's voice was quiet, no, but sometimes they learn where the filth ends. Outside, sirens began to rise. Coyle's eyes flicked toward the doors. Vincent looked at him. You always did talk too long. Police lights washed blue and red across the cracked mirrors. Doors crashed open. Officers flooded the lobby. Coyle's men reached for weapons and found Cole's team already behind them, cutting off every exit with silent precision. Coyle stared at Vincent. You brought cops. I brought consequences. The arrest was not clean. Nothing in Vincent's world ever was. Men shouted. Glass broke. One gunshot cracked into the ceiling before Cole slammed a man against a blackjack table and disarmed him. But Vincent never moved toward Coyle. He never gave him the satisfaction of becoming the monster he had prepared to fight. When detectives forced Coyle to his knees, Vincent stepped close enough that only Coyle could hear him. You mistook my daughter for a pressure point. Coyle spat blood onto the carpet. She is. Vincent's face did not change. No, she is the reason I stop men like you from making more children afraid. Coyle laughed, but there was fear in it now. Vincent walked away before the sound ended. At the Callahan house, Nora waited in the front hall because waiting anywhere else felt impossible. Ben sat on the stairs behind her, silent for once. Maggie stayed in the safe room with Lily, sending updates through the house phone every few minutes. Cole had called once to say the police had Coyle in custody. Vincent had not yet spoken. Nora stood facing the front door with her hands clenched at her sides. Every passing minute became a room she could not escape. Ben finally spoke. You love him. Nora did not turn. You picked a dramatic time to become observant. I'm serious, so am I. He came down one step. Nor, She looked back. Ben's face was bruised and tired, but his eyes were clearer than she had seen them in years. "You spent your whole life saving me mom bills, everybody. I kept thinking that meant you were strong enough not to need anyone." Nora's throat tightened. "I'm not doing this right now. I know. I just need to say it before I become a coward again." She looked away. Ben continued, "If this is the place where somebody finally holds you back, don't run because it looks dangerous." Nora gave a broken little laugh. "It is dangerous." "Yeah." But so was being alone. The front gate buzzed open on the security screen. Nora turned. Headlights swept across the wet drive. The front door opened before anyone knocked. Vincent stepped inside rain on his hair blood on one cuff eye searching. Nora crossed the foyer before she decided to move. He caught her against him. For one breath, neither spoke. Nora pressed her face into his chest and felt him alive beneath her hands. "You came back," she whispered. His arms tightened. "I promised." She pulled back just enough to look at him. "You are hurt. Not badly. That is what people say when they are bleeding." "It is not mine." She stared at him. He almost smiled. "Most of it is not mine." Nora hit his chest with the flat of her hand. He caught her wrist gently and brought her knuckles to his mouth. The tenderness undid her more than the danger had. Maggie appeared at the top of the stairs. "She wants to see you both." Lily was sitting in the safe room under the moon lamp, wrapped in Evelyn's pink blanket. When Vincent entered, she ran to him with a small cry. He dropped to his knees and gathered her close. Nora stood in the doorway, one hand over her mouth. Lily pulled back and touched his face. "You came back, yes. Did you stop him?" Vincent looked at Nora, then back at Lily. "Yes. Did you make it different?" The room went quiet. Vincent brushed hair from his daughter's eyes. "I tried." Lily considered that, then nodded. "Okay. It was not forgiveness. It was not understanding. It was trust, small and new, placing one foot on unsteady ground." Then Lily reached for Nora. "Mom." Nora went to her at once. Lily pulled her down until the three of them were tangled together on the floor of the safe room beneath the little moon lamp, surrounded by bottled water and emergency blankets and children's books. The room had been built for terror. That night it held a family. A week later, the rain stopped. Atlantic City woke beneath a pale blue sky washed clean in a way Nora did not entirely trust. Coyle was in custody, tied to the diner attack, the attempted abduction of Ben, and enough old crimes that even men with expensive lawyers would have trouble calling it misunderstanding. Vincent did not celebrate. He only came home earlier. True change in that house did not arrive like thunder. It arrived as Vincent leaving his phone in another room during dinner. It arrived as Lily sleeping with her door open because she wanted air, not because she was afraid. It arrived as Ben entering a treatment program under Maggie's severe supervision. It arrived as Cole teaching Nora how to check exits, then pretending not to notice when she corrected his pancake technique in return. One morning, Nora found Lily in the greenhouse holding a photograph of Evelyn. The girl looked up. "Can we go see her?" Nora knew who she meant without asking. She sat beside Lily on the warm stone floor. "Do you want me to come?" Lily nodded. "Will that make her sad?" Nora's heart turned carefully. "No, baby." Lily looked down at the picture. "What if she thinks I forgot her because I love you?" Nora took a slow breath. Love does not work like a chair where only one person can sit. It is more like this greenhouse. The more things you care for, the more things can grow. Lily frowned. That sounds like something Aunt Maggie would say. Then it is probably wise and slightly bossy. Lily smiled a little. "Can Daddy come too?" "Yes." The cemetery overlooked the Atlantic from a quiet hill beyond the city. The grass was wet from morning dew. Wind moved softly through the trees. Evelyn Callahan's grave sat beneath a stone angel with weather-worn wings. Fresh roses already lay there. Vincent had sent them every week for 2 years. He stood a few feet back at first, hands in his coat pockets, face closed against a grief that still knew his name. Lily approached with Nora. She held yellow flowers in one hand and Oliver in the other. For a long time she said nothing. Then she placed the flowers against the stone. "Hi, Mom." Vincent turned his head away. Nora stayed still. Lily swallowed. "I miss you. I don't remember your voice all the time anymore. But Daddy told me you sang the wrong words to songs. Aunt Maggie said you danced in the kitchen when you burned dinner. Nora said we can keep stories like lights." She looked back. "Nora, come here." Nora's eyes stung. "This is your time, sweetheart. I want you here." Nora stepped beside her. Lily took her hand. "This is Nora. She saved me at the diner, but she also stayed after. She makes bad pancakes and good voices for bedtime stories. She calls me Sunshine." Vincent made a sound that might have been a breath-breaking. Lily looked at the name on the stone. "I still love you. I always will. But I love her too." Nora crouched beside Lily, tears slipping freely now. "Thank you," she whispered, though she was not sure whether she was speaking to Lily Evelyn or the strange mercy that had brought her here through blood and fear. Lily leaned into her. Vincent finally came forward. He placed one hand on the stone, then one hand on Lily's shoulder. "I am sorry," he said quietly. The wind moved through the grass. He closed his eyes. "I am trying." Nora looked up at him. Lily reached for his hand, then pulled him closer until the three of them stood together before Evelyn's grave. No one replaced anyone. No one vanished. The love simply made room. Spring reached the Callahan house in pieces. First, the roses opened. Then the curtains in Lily's room stayed wide during storms. Then laughter began showing up in places that had once only known footsteps and low voices. Nora returned to Ruby's Pier Diner once after it reopened with new windows and a fresh coat of paint that could not hide everything the walls remembered. Hank hugged her so tightly she had to remind him about the shoulder. "Human shield," he said gruffly. "Short order philosopher," she answered. Darlene cried and pretended she had allergies. The old couple from the window booth sent her a card. The teenager in the casino uniform had left a note with one sentence inside. "You ran, so I ran too." Nora kept that note in her drawer at the Callahan house. Not because she wanted to remember the gunfire. Because she wanted to remember that courage could echo. Months later, on a warm evening with the ocean breeze moving through open windows, Lily worked on another school project at the kitchen table. This one was about home. She had drawn the mansion with uneven windows, roses in front, Maggie waving from the doorway, Cole standing near the gate with a frown, Ben carrying grocery bags, Vincent holding a pancake pan, and Nora in the center with a yellow apron. Nora leaned over her shoulder. "Why am I wearing yellow?" Lily kept coloring. "Because sunshine." Vincent entered in shirt-sleeves jacket gone tie loose, looking less like a man arriving from war and more like a father coming home. Lily held up the drawing. "Do you like it?" Vincent studied it. "I look very serious." "You are very serious. Nora is in the middle." Lily looked at him as if that should have been obvious. "She is the warm part." Nora went still. Vincent's eyes lifted to hers. Maggie, standing at the stove, suddenly found the sauce very interesting. Vincent walked to Nora and touched her face, not caring who saw. "She is," he said. Lily smiled and went back to coloring. That night, thunder rolled over the coast. Once that sound would have sent Lily running to a closet or trembling beneath blankets. Now she appeared in Nora's doorway with Oliver under one arm. "Can I sleep here?" Nora pulled back the covers. Always. A few minutes later, Vincent came to the door. Lily sat up. "Daddy, you too?" He looked at Nora. The question was there quiet and careful as it always was when he crossed any line that mattered. Nora smiled. Vincent came in and sat on the other side of the bed. Lily settled between them, one hand in Nora's, one hand in Vincent's. Thunder moved again, softer this time, farther away. "Mom?" Nora looked down. "Yes, sunshine." "Do you think families have to start happy?" Nora brushed hair from Lily's forehead. "No." Vincent's hand closed gently around Lily's. Lily thought about that. "Good. Why good?" "Because ours started loud." Nora laughed softly. Vincent smiled in the dark. Lily yawned. "But now it is quiet." Rain began against the windows, a gentle tapping over the ocean wind. Lily's breathing slowed safe and even. Nora looked across at Vincent. The man who had once seemed carved from danger now sat barefoot on a child's bed, holding his daughter's hand like it was the most sacred thing in the world. His eyes met Nora's over Lily's sleeping form. No vows were spoken in that room. No promises big enough to tempt fate. Only presence. Only staying. Outside Atlantic City glittered beyond the rain, full of old sins and neon dreams, full of men who still whispered Vincent Callahan's name with fear. But inside the house by the water, pancakes burned, roses bloomed, bedtime stories ran too long, and a little girl slept without screaming. Nora Blake had once believed she was invisible. Then a child in a yellow dress saw her through smoke, blood, and terror, and called her Mom. She had thought the bravest moment of her life was running toward gunfire. She had been wrong. The bravest part came after the wound closed. It came every morning she stayed.